Out here at the NFL Scouting Combine, I'm Tatum Everett, now alongside Pro Football Focus's lead draft analyst, Mike Renner. And, just your title alone, we know that this is your time of the year to shine. What's it been like getting ready for this combine in particular?
This is my favorite time of year. The past month, once the Super Bowl ends, is kind of when my season begins. So I love this week because it really is kind of a check on your own eyes. Because I've watched pretty much all these guys who are going to be testing and have an idea of what they're going to be as athletes, have an idea of who they are as players. And then sometimes every year there's a couple dozen guys that I feel differently from after their testing, or it's like they exceeded or didn't match my expectations, and then you go back to the tape and say, was I wrong? What do I need to change? So I do think it's great for the evaluation process, even if the numbers themselves aren't a great predictor of your success at the NFL level.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, when you look at those numbers versus the names, and is there a particular drill or what would be a specific test that you would look at and be like, okay, I got to go back to the board and figure this one out?
Yeah, I tend to bucket the tests. So there's speed, which is the 40. That one's pretty obvious. You get that, and we have GPS times now. Everyone has GPS times to really get a handle on how fast guys are. That's speed. And then there's explosiveness, which is the broad jump, vertical jump, those, and the 10 split. That's kind of just your explosiveness. Those three together, how well you perform in those is that. And then there's a change direction ability, which is the short shuttle, the three cone. And so you kind of bucket all those into here's how fast he is, here's how explosive he is, here's his change of direction ability. So I think that's the best way to look at it. You don't just say, he had a great three cone, he's going to be a great player. It's like you have to take it all kind of holistically and how he compared to guys at his position historically.
And how much do you go back, I guess, because you do all this here at the Combine, and then the pro days happen, and so it's like this never-ending cycle. How are you able to, I guess, come up with your process to really finalize the right draft board for you?
Yeah, this isn't moving guys massively one way or the other. It's more jockeying of position because I line them up on a draft board, but it's more like tiers. It's more like you see a lot of guys at a similar level of prospect. And then this helps to break those ties where it's like one guy's a very high-end athlete, one guy's maybe just like a little above average athlete. It's like you're going to trend towards the guy who's a little more higher-end athlete. So I think that's the value I see in this, and according to how it changes my perception after the draft.
Right, and that top tier, I know it's usually the top 15 picks. It's like that 18 to 24 range, and you've got the Vikings at pick number 23. It was a successful season, so now you're obviously more back in the draft than last season. Or in best case scenario, knowing all of our needs, what would be the Vikings move at 23?
What I'm looking at is this wide receiver class, if I'm the Minnesota Vikings, because there's 4 guys right now that I feel good about as first rounders. It's Quentin Johnson out of TCU, Jackson Smith-Njigba from Ohio State, Zay Flowers from Boston College, and then Jordan Addison from USC. I don't think any of them are top 10, top 12 type of picks like we saw last year. I think we saw 4 guys going top 13. I don't foresee that being the case, but I think you will see a run start in the teens, in the middle of the first round, and maybe all 4 of those guys could be off the board by the time the Vikings are picking there at 23. So I do think that's where your dream is, just one of those guys falling, because of how teams just could focus on Justin Jefferson and be completely unafraid of anyone else on that Vikings roster beating them deep.
Now, saying that, and this whole defensive rebuild going on right now with Coach Flores, I don't know. There's a lot of corner going out there. Is this a position that maybe they could get more out of down the later rounds?
I love this cornerback class. And so, yes, I do think this is a corner class where there's going to be a good guy there on the board for you at 23, but then there's also going to be a good guy there probably in the 3rd round when they're picking again. It is very deep. And the cornerback position historically is one where you can wait on more. And I think we saw that with Tariq Woolen last year, whereas wide receiver is one where if you don't get one in the first 2 rounds, traditionally it's hard to find. The Adam Thielens of the world are rarities, and usually they're like that guys who are completely off the radar, who were not going to big school. So the traditionally top 75 pick is what you need to get a number 1, number 2 type of wide receiver, whereas you can get a corner in the 3rd round that can still step in and start for you.
So we talked wide receiver, we've got corner out of the way. Is there one position left you think the Vikings really need to address in this year's draft?
Center. I think that's the other position, and there's 3 guys I really like in this center class. It's John Michael Schmitz from Minnesota, Luke Whippler from Ohio State, and then Joe Tippmann from Wisconsin. 3 Big Ten guys, 3 guys, obviously Minnesota scouts are probably very familiar with in the area, but I don't know if they make it to the 3rd round. So center's a position where, maybe you have to turn your eyes towards free agency to fix that hole, but that's probably the one other position where it's like, Garrett Bradbury, becoming a free agent, and even if he does get re-signed, is one you'd probably like to upgrade.
All right. Thank you so much, Mike, PFF's lead draft analyst, Mike Renner, joining us here at the Combine. Best of luck figuring all of this stuff out and obviously being so surprised on draft day.
Thanks. It's crapshoot. I'm not going to figure it out. I'm going to admit that right now, but it's all about that fact that you got better no matter who you drafted.
That's right. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.